Excuse me, everyone. The time is now 7 p.m. I will now call this special town council meeting of the Bridgewater Town Council to order. Please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's special town council meeting is being streamed live via YouTube. Please go to the Town of Bridgewater Facebook page for the link. So going to my agenda, I'm usually prepared for minutes and president's announcements, but we do not have any of those. We will go to public comment first. Due to Massachusetts open meeting law requirements, discussions will not take place during public comment periods. If appropriate, responses to questions and concerns will be given by the town manager at a future town council meeting. Anyone may come up at this time and speak for up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Might as well be first. Janet Hanson, Pleasant Street. Hello, we're here again. It's such a long time since we last saw each other. I'd like to comment on Resolution RFY 26-013, affirming no new water service connections and outdoor water use during declared water supply emergency. I have some questions. Whereas the town manager has committed the Bridgewater would not allow new tie-ins for the water system during the water emergency state for non-approved projects, and the town council hereby confirms and supports the town manager's existing policy for no new water connections shall be authorized for projects not yet approved during the water supply emergency, which was declared on December 5th, and that it shall not affect any project that, as the effective date of the resolution, which is today, has received all required approvals for the permit. That's confusing. Does the approval projects through today include projects not approved after December 5th but have since been approved? I'd like answers to that question. You should be able to answer that, because you would need to know. The approved projects spoken of, when were they approved? Before December 5th? So to clarify, non-approved cannot tie in, but they would not be able to anyways because they're not approved. But any projects that are approved through today can tie in. But we have a water emergency which doesn't allow tie-ins. It's not clearly specified and needs to be. Plus, if they're not tied in yet between December 5th and today, wouldn't that make them fall all into the new hookup category, regardless of when they were approved either way? At what point are they considered old, new? What does Middleborough define new as? Has anyone asked them? Is it written anywhere? I think anything is new if it's never been hooked up and project has been approved. Too vague in my eyes for clarification of not approved, approved, new hookups, because all would be new after December 5th as far as I'm concerned. Drought classification was lifted yesterday, so how will that not only affect us but Middleborough? I hope if you proceed with this resolution, you will do so after you answer my questions and others. After July 12th, which is not even part of this, when 90 days is up, the town, I hope, will not just start letting people use water and that we review everything, so we're not in the same situation that we were before. Learn by our mistakes. Drought situation could return. So please clarify tonight what new actually means. Non-approved versus approved, between December 5th and today, and through the water emergency time frame, and when we will still be connected to Middleborough water. What exactly does Middleborough deem as new, because all would be considered new? Nothing approved during water emergency can tie in after December 5th. Approval can tie in, but that wouldn't be affected by water emergency, and wouldn't that be affected by water emergency and when they got approved? If non-approved, then it becomes approved. Will they be able to tie in? And then it would be new, wouldn't it? And then Middleborough interconnection is not mentioned in this, but I guess it doesn't need to be. But it's just, we just need clarification. It's just non-approved, approved, what can be tied in, what can't be, when were they approved, how long is this going to last? So hopefully you answer all those before you make a decision. And it would be a good idea if you actually read this resolution so people can actually hear it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is David Moore, 54 Flag Street. Like most people in town who saw the Middleborough Selectmen's meeting, I was personally embarrassed to say I came from Bridgewater, that we had allowed something like this to get into the situation that we're in right now. I felt bad for the town officials who were at that meeting, who took a pounding from the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. But it is what it is. And I hope that the people who are responsible for the decisions that were made are held accountable for it, because it was, our water problem is nothing new. It's been going on for years. This wasn't something that just fell out of the sky. The developers for 80 Broad Street, for Perkins property, for 43 Central Square, all should have been advised that there were issues that they had to be very careful of, to pay attention to them. Because the way this is worded, it says no new water service. Well, I have to reiterate Mrs. Hansen's questions, what is new? We've got over, I would guess, 250 so-called approved projects, approved units that are on the books right now. 250 additional units, I'm sure that's going to drive the people down in Middleborough off the wall. I don't know if that was discussed that night at the meeting, but I think that's a very serious concern. I know time is money, and to ask a developer to delay his project for a couple of years, I know it's going to be financially devastating for most of them. But it's a serious problem, and the building inspector, he's the one who writes the permits after they've been approved by the water department for a hookup. He has that question also. I was talking to him yesterday, and he said, what's a new hookup? What's it considered? We've got a 4-story pile of lumber down on the end of Perkins Ave, called the old walkover shoe or Lucy's shoe or whatever you want to call it. If that building goes up, there's no sprinkler system in that building. The sprinkler system's been shut off. If the wind is just right, we're going to lose Perkins Ave. We may lose Stetson Street, too. I spoke with the former fire chief, and he said when the houses on Broad Street, 80 Broad Street in that area, went up, if the wind had been just right, they would have lost Stetson Street that night. So if the water level is down, we could be looking at a perfect storm. And many, many people would lose their homes, especially with Perkins Ave. The D'Amelia's own the building right next to it. It's got asphalt shingles on the side of it. The houses out to Broad Street are very tight and close together. So we got a serious problem. And to allow 250 to 300 water hookups before those wells come online, I think is foolhardy. I think it's crazy, and we shouldn't be doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, MJ. Yes, I need that. Good evening. Pat Neary, Lakeside Drive. And I'm here to make just a few comments. I'm not sure if the language used in the resolution will be the same language used in the agreement with Middleborough, but I suggest that you use the word municipal in front of the outdoor water use prohibition, as many of the residents have irrigation systems that run off a well. And this resolution, I wanted to mention the second whereas in your resolution. This resolution shall not affect any project that has already received approvals. And have you discussed this with Middleborough? Probably something that you have to do. Or do you anticipate that no project will come online by the end of this interconnection? You also use the word project when discussing or describing an approval. For my own information, what is the definition of a project? Is it a hotel? Is it a development? Is it a dwelling? You may want to be more specific when you're doing your agreement. And I am pleased that we are able to move forward on our water situation, and I'm grateful to the town of Middleborough for accommodating us. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Gonna make this my part-time job.
Keith Buell, 10 Fieldcrest Drive. I applaud Mrs. Meehan and Mr. D'Amelia's drive to get action done on this very serious problem that we face. But what I'll say is I was in this room 8 to 10 years ago, and a woman came here and she put up a mason jar right here on this counter that had brown water in it, you know, and she begged the people that were sitting where you're sitting to do something about it. So for anybody, I never believe that placing blame solves anything. But there's plenty of blame and plenty of accountability that goes a long way back and should not be laid at the feet of the 8 of you sitting here or the town manager completely. It's just not fair. You know, it's a problem. We got to solve it. This is drastic. I too am a little wary on the new water service connection and what that means and how clear that is. But with all the social media noise, I want you all 8 to know, and I want the town manager to know that as a citizen, you know, I respect and appreciate the fact that you sit behind these chairs every month. It is not an easy job. The pay sucks. I respect anybody who pulls papers. You know, it's something that, while I don't always agree with what you do, I've come here many, many, many times. I'm sure that Herb Lemon and Mark Oliari and Stanley Kravitz called me the constant complainer 30 years ago. And I'm not afraid to tell you when you do a good job, and I'm not afraid to tell you when I question what you do, but the respect and appreciation that I have for what you do for our town never wavers whether I agree with you or not. And so I was just, after reading social media post after social media post, I had to come here and let you know that there's at least one citizen, you know, who appreciates your efforts. And hopefully, there's no doubt in my mind that every one of you want to do what's good for our town. You know, you wouldn't be behind those chairs if that wasn't the case. But we got to do something, and we got to do it now. You know, and you got to be clear, and you got to be concise. And again, you got to follow the drive that Mrs. Meehan and Mr. D'Amelia had, and get this moving forward. Thanks.
Thank you.
MJ Spagone, 5 Lakeshore Center, Unit 1128. Speaking as a resident of the town, I feel I have to specify that sometimes. I believe you're in a precarious spot this evening. I think the thoughts of our fellow residents are quite clear. I hope that during your conversation this evening, as you deliberate on the resolution before you, that you will be able to answer the questions of our fellow residents in attendance and those who are watching at home tonight via online and via cable. I'm hoping that you can provide at least some clarification on what those specifics about new connections or existing connections are going to be, what the specific stipulations are, if you are so able to do so, that Middleborough set out for us. I assume that it's not just a verbal agreement between our counterparts in Middleborough. I do certainly hope you will explain that in further detail and give specifics in a clear and plain manner that everyone in the town will be able to fully understand and follow. Because right now, we're in a precarious position, and I hope that we can resolve it soon. And I hope that it can be resolved quickly in a manner that's easy to understand for all. And I hope that that will happen this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Hello, Jean DiBattista, 260 Lakeside Drive. I'm back because you all tricked me last meeting by holding public comments later, and I couldn't stay. So here I am. I agree with some of the statements that were previously made about appreciation of the efforts of this group. I've seen a lot of sincerity in the town council, and I've seen a lot of effort being made. I've also seen a tremendous amount of effort being made by the residents of this town. It's very clear that everyone really cares. It's also like so incredibly abundantly clear to me now, and I've learned through this whole process from what I've read on social media, from what everybody has been saying, that this is our top #1 problem. That is like, it's like, wow. When all of this started, I had no idea how deep this went and how important this was. I could see a thread happening, partly from Jonas, partly from other people, but what has come out is amazing. And it isn't just this short-term resolution that's important. It's the importance is to follow this all the way through and to work together to do it. And one thing I will say, I have seen some attitudes from various people in the town that have shown a lack of respect for residents. And I think that needs to change. It's very clear the residents of this town completely care about this town. Some people, I've only been here for 5 years, and you know, I'm definitely, compared to some people here, I'm a total newbie because there's people that have been here for 30 to 40 years. And it's obvious that there's a lot of value in Bridgewater, but I hope we can all come together, put the past behind us, and now move forward and make this our absolute top priority, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Because this is a special meeting, we are on a little bit of a different agenda. This is the only public comment period of the evening, so if anyone else would like to come up and speak, now would be the time. Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to new business. We have Resolution R FY 26-013. This is being put forward as an emergency resolution, affirming no new water service connections and outdoor water use during the declared water supply emergency. So due to this being an emergency measure, which allows us to pass this tonight during a single meeting, I will read a little bit of a section of the charter, and then we will also vote to declare the defined emergency and suspend the rules so that we can approve this evening. For those who may be new and don't know, generally you need 2 readings to pass any sort of measure, whether that be a resolution, order, ordinance, what have you. And generally speaking, those 2 readings also have to have 14 days. There's certain other conditions, but just so everybody understands what we're doing here tonight. So hopefully that's clear. So under an emergency measure, in accordance with Section 2-7B of the Home Rule Charter, an emergency measure shall be introduced in the form and manner prescribed for measures generally, except that it shall be plainly designated as an emergency measure, and shall contain statements after the enacting clause declaring that an emergency exists and describing its scope and nature in clear and specific terms. A preamble which declares and defines the emergency shall be separately voted on and shall require the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the town council. So we'll be doing that. Firstly, we're going to vote to declare and define the emergency, which requires a 2/3 vote. So I'm going to read the preamble, which is the whereas statements in the resolution for those who are following along. So whereas on December 4th, 2025, the town of Bridgewater petitioned the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection to declare a water supply emergency, and written approval was provided on December 5th, 2025. And whereas the town manager has committed that the town would not allow new tie-ins to the water system during this water emergency state for non-approved projects, and I'm going to be asking for amendment in this next piece. Whereas drought conditions currently affecting the region necessitate continued outdoor watering restrictions to protect the town's water supply, and whereas the town council finds it appropriate to formally affirm these commitments on the record during the pendency of the declared water supply emergency. So I'm going to make a motion to strike whereas drought conditions currently affecting the region necessitate continued outdoor watering restrictions to protect the town's water supply capacity. I wrote this on Tuesday, and we were in a drought, and that was lifted yesterday. That is something that the state does. It's not something that Bridgewater does. However, because we are under a water supply emergency, we will continue to have an outdoor watering ban as part of those conditions. So I hope that that's clear. So I will put forward an amendment to strike that. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on that?
Just wondering, as far as, you know, in the entire statement, potentially, oh, I'm sorry, no. Thank you very much. Just the latter part of the statement that says, continued outdoor watering restrictions, which again is based on the water emergency state. Should we have that language as maybe as an extension of that first whereas, just to, you know, provide clarity that we are definitely still supporting continued outdoor watering restrictions. I understand that, you know, drought conditions should be eliminated, but just to what a couple of residents might have been alluding to as far as you know, what we're looking to, you know, restrict, and I know that's one of the things that Middleborough is looking for us to support, but maybe just, you know, taking out the drought conditions currently affecting the region, necessitate, end it there, and then, and, you know, the whereas says, and continued outdoor watering restrictions to protect the town's water supply capacity. I just like the tail end of that statement to stay in there, supporting the fact that we're, even though it's assumed in the water state of emergency, at least having it in the resolution would reinforce the fact that we are supporting continued outdoor watering restrictions.
Any comments on that? I would be in support of that. I think that's fine.
I would be in support of that. I have another amendment I'd like to propose, but we're dealing with this one now.
So what I would recommend is, because now you're amending an amendment and another amendment of two amendments, maybe vote the first amendment and then work your way through each subsequent amendment just to make the record clear.
Yeah, so I'll rescind my initial amendment, and then, Dr. Perry, do you want to make a motion?
So my motion will be as just to strike whereas drought conditions currently affecting the region necessitate, and leaving the rest of the statement there to put at the end of the first whereas.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion on striking just that portion? Okay. All those, do we need to roll call the amendments on this, Debbie,
Could
or
I
no?
just hear what it sounds like?
So I can read, yeah, so it would be, whereas the town manager has committed that the town would not allow new tie-ins to the water system during this water emergency state for non-approved projects, and continued outdoor watering restrictions to protect the town's water supply and capacity.
Okay. So
Yeah.
making it part of the.
First
part of the
whereas.
second.
Yes.
Through the second whereas?
Got it?
Yeah,
Oh,
so you delete that.
Just deleting the first section of that whereas, but adding that statement to the end of that prior whereas.
Any further discussion on that?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that is amended. Okay, so
I would like to propose an amendment if it's in
is
proper
this
order.
is this on the first section of the preamble, or is this on the rest?
Later on.
This is under the preamble
Okay.
part. And the second whereas, it says for the emergency state for non-approved projects. And I think we should add the words, rather, we should have, the town shall not allow new tie-ins for projects approved after December 5th, 2025. To talk about that gray area that Ms. Hanson had mentioned. And I think that would be the best, so. For projects approved after December 5th, 2025.
To my knowledge, we haven't approved any projects after that date. Anything that has been issued a permit was already pre-approved, correct?
Correct. I want to make, hold on, Johnny. Can you repeat that? I want to make sure we're on the same page here.
Yeah,
The only project that we've approved during Spirit, a building permit, was a pre-approved project. That's what you said, right?
yes,
Correct.
so that wouldn't qualify under Counselor Ellenberg's amendment because it was already pre-approved.
If it was before December 5th or before, it would fit in. It would be approved. In other words, this is for projects after December 5th that are not approved yet, are in that kind of limbo status, and we want to have them under the water restriction as well.
Could I ask a question, maybe clarifying? Because on the 4th, we petitioned the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, and on the 5th, it became that we're under a water emergency, so therefore we couldn't.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yep.
We have an amendment that hasn't been seconded, so I'll second it for the
Okay.
purpose of discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. And I have more questions with regard to the discussion. For example, we have probably had fees paid by developers in order to do various projects at various times, at various phases of the project. What I would like to know is, have we already had some of these fees paid?
Point of
Are
order,
we
we're
in
talking
limbo?
about the amendment.
Yeah.
Well,
So
this-
let's keep it
this-
in, let's
this
keep it in
is-
the context of the amendment.
Okay, well, it's for projects approved after December 5th. Have we accepted fees already? And if so, how much? And would that be the source of potential litigation, having already accepted fees?
Counselor, I'm a little confused about what you're asking for. I think in the resolution is reaffirming what I have said before the town, that for non-approved projects that haven't gone through site plan approval, comprehensive permit approval, anything like that, we are not moving forward with any new tie-ins for those projects. Now, if a project has gotten site plan approval, comprehensive permit, 40B, that is not covered under what I've said. Any determination to stop those kind of projects is in the purview of the council, and that needs to be a building moratorium.
Okay.
And that is not my purview, that's the council's purview. I think I've
Thank
tried to
you.
be as clear as possible there.
And I would like to ask a question to council. A water emergency measure is legally not the same as a moratorium, am I correct?
This is not a moratorium.
I know it's not a moratorium.
This is a resolution. So it is a vote of the council to support the existing policy of the town manager, which I believe derives from the fact that the building inspector is aware that there isn't sufficient potable water in certain circumstances for new developments. So I think this is an assertion or a reassertion of an existing policy that's actually in place.
But it's not a moratorium.
It's absolutely not a moratorium.
And wouldn't a moratorium be more effective in protecting the residents of Bridgewater?
No.
That's up to the town council, Madam Counselor. That's beyond my scope.
Okay, so we've read the preamble, and we need to vote and to declare an emergency, so that's going to be...
Mr. President,
Oh.
point of
We
order.
have
Oh,
a-
no, sorry,
We have an
On the
amendment
amendment.
I apologize.
for projects approved after December 5th, 2025 is the added language.
And could I ask the question, so on December 5th, when we declared a water emergency, does that prevent us from any, approving any buildings under the water emergency declared by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection?
We adopted a policy on December 5th that we wouldn't approve any more projects, so I don't know if having this amendment added does anything, because we haven't approved any significant projects of any significant size that this would really be tied to.
Right, and with that, again, I think the language that's written is assumed based on the prior whereas. I don't think we need to put the date in there again, but we're not allowing new tie-ins to anything that's not approved. And anything that has been approved, even in the next coming 90 days, there's nothing scheduled to be tied in anyway. So there's nothing to be tied into our water system going forward. So I believe the statement as it reads is probably, in my opinion, sufficient enough because it comes following the other whereas where the date is already listed, so.
And I'll just bridge off of that, through you, Mr. President, to the town manager. Are there any tie-ins scheduled that were pre-approved prior to the water ban in the next 90 days?
Not to our knowledge, but you do have 40B projects that you can't limit water connections to. I think the major projects that our building commissioner has mentioned is, Perkins project. That's not going to be tying into the water for some significant amount of time, as well as the hotel not tying into our water system within 90 days.
Or the Broad Street project.
Or the project. So
Correct.
just because it's been asked and just for clarification, we have Perkins, the hotel project, and potential 40B projects that are already approved that may tie in during that period because they are already approved projects. And unraveling that is quite the process. And
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
play that out a little bit, just so we're
Sure.
very clear. The Broad Street project, for example, received comprehensive development site plan approval back in June or something of 2025. So even under this, this process, it was issued a building permit because it received that approval beforehand. The hotel is a similar thing. It received site plan approval. I don't want to get too deep in the specifics, but if the hotel were to come forward, it would be treated similarly as the Broad Street project, for example. Unless there's a building moratorium in place, it would receive a building, approval, unless the council wants to do something else different.
And just to highlight the Broad Street project, because I think that's what people are looking at as a potential thing, because a permit for a water was later after that. But from my understanding, because of the zoning district that project that was in, it went through a specific department of the town, and essentially that water permit and other permits were procedural in nature because it was already approved.
Correct, unless there's a building moratorium in place.
Okay.
But just to elaborate, Councilor Kennedy, again, that project is not even close to being ready to tie into our water system. So, again, if all goes according to plan and our water system is improved by the end of June, July 1st, where we might have the potential to have those tie-in down the line, the system would be in a better position to do that. But in the 90 days that we're looking to extend this relationship with Middleborough, there's nothing that's going to be tied into the system.
Yeah, I would agree.
Personally, I would rather see a moratorium for the 90 days to comply with Middleborough. And again, I do think those projects were in the gray zone in between should not be considered approved. And I think that we should make an amendment to that effect.
Please.
Yeah. Ms. Ellenberg, again, I don't believe we can use the term moratorium because that would violate the MBTA Communities Agreement, and that would jeopardize our ability to apply for and get more grant money for the town that we're using to pay for a lot of these water improvements.
Interesting, the MBTA approval came through today.
It did come in through
What
today,
a
so we're
coincidence.
eligible to apply for some more grant money, so
That's true.
We
And we
cannot-
can't declare a moratorium.
we cannot use that language.
That's
I
because
would
we
unadvise
didn't
it.
declare a moratorium. We didn't use the word moratorium. So we are
So
approved.
I think-
I want to add a little clarity. Do you want to go?
One second, yep, please. Mr. President, this language we have here, has this been discussed with Middleborough? I think that's kind of the core component here is people are concerned that it may or may not comply with what they're concerned about us doing. And has that been communicated?
Yeah, I've had individual conversations with members of their board over the last week and a half now, because a motion was made, and people need to understand that Middleborough's government operates very different from us. We can't sit here and look at a certain contract or a proposal and say, I make a motion to do this, and then everybody votes, and then it becomes, and it becomes adopted. We have a process where we have multiple readings. It gets referred out to committees, and a lot of vesting goes into that before it becomes approved and part of our process. So I want that to be clear, is that Middleborough made a motion with certain language last Monday, and it was unclear. This is a very long and drawn-out document that states our intent. And while that was expeditious, it also was vague, in my opinion. And I had multiple conversations, and I asked them, a couple of their members, can you please kind of explain what the intent was here? And I specifically had asked, we do have projects which are permitted, and they are expecting to be able to continue with their work. And I want to make sure that we're on the same page as to what the intent was. And the intent was that we can't approve any new projects we cannot approve any new service connections for unapproved projects. I spoke with Mr. Giovannoni particularly on that issue, and he understands that if we have a 40B project, for example, that has site plan approval, subdivision approval, I forget the exact terminology there, and they've been built, and people are purchasing these homes, they expect to be able to turn the tap on when they purchase their home. So that's something that requires a lot of nuance. I spoke to their chair yesterday regarding the language. While they would prefer something more, brief than this, for us to just say yes, and then we agree on what they had proposed. There's a lot of gray areas, right? And I think this kind of closes the gap in a lot of those gray areas. So my impression of those conversations was, would they prefer that this be shorter and easier and we just say yes and we all kind of have a collective understanding? Yes, but they understand that we have to do what's best for our town, and we're going to move forward with this vote. And if their board has an issue with what we approved here, then we'll continue to have that conversation. I asked if we were in jeopardy of having our connection shut off as a result of our actions here tonight, and I was told no, that we have nothing to worry about.
Okay, that's my primary concern, and I think most people's concern is whether or not this will cause an issue with them over that water connection. So I appreciate them speaking with you and you speaking with them, and I appreciate another town not putting us in a position to have litigation brought on our town just to maintain water for our town, because I think that's what the main concern is.
Sorry to jump in, and it is possible that their board reconvenes and they decide collectively as a board that they want to go in a different direction, and then we'll have to revisit that conversation. These are conversations that I had with individuals, and I don't want them to speak for the entirety of their board, as I don't speak for the entirety of our board. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did want to make that distinction.
That's fine. I don't have anything to add to that, I guess. Thank you.
Cool.
I would just refresh. I would just refresh everyone's memory that according to David Moore, there are 250 to 300 units which are already pre-approved.
And we don't anticipate that a majority of, or any of those are even going to be tied in the next 90 days.
Correct.
How many of those are 40Bs and individual homes and things of that nature? I don't know about the 250 to 300 units.
I believe the better question is, do we have a significant number of projects that are going to be tied in the next 90 days? And I think we've been clear that the answer is no.
Correct.
I think we can give you from our building commissioner a list of 40B projects. I mean, we can't determine what's coming in the next 90 days, but in terms of the significant projects that we mentioned before, they are not tying into our water system within the next 90 days, and for a significant amount of time beyond that.
We just, if I could, we had a resident ask the question of what is being defined as a project. Is there any specific language that we use for that? Are we assuming that's anything that requires a permit?
What is a project?
Yeah, I don't know how we're defining that. I was just wondering.
I think it's up to you guys.
Can I say one thing, Mr. President? I listened to the planning board, and there's a project, they call it a project coming up for them, and, you know, as much, they approved the project, but told them they can't tie in. So if they want to go forward, they have to do the wells. So anything that's becoming the planning board, they know this is here, so they're saying you can go forward, but you have to dig your own wells, you can't tie in. And they called that a project, and it was duplexes, and I think individual homes.
I would personally define a project as anything requiring approval. And that could be a home, it could be an ADU for somebody's in-law, it could be a subdivision, it could be a number of things. I don't know if there's a defined version of project, but as we discussed before, if people are wondering what an approved project is, my definition of an approved project would be, and I wrote this down just so that I had it correct, is a project, which we're kind of talking about what a project means, but that has received required approvals or permits. Examples are site plan approval, subdivision approval, building permits from the appropriate authority at the time, whether it be planning board, CED, or the building department. Because if you want to do an ADU, you just need a building permit. But if you want to build a subdivision, then you need a subdivision permit. If you want to have a larger development, you need a site plan approval. So there are certain approvals for certain projects which are required. I don't know if that clarifies anything, but.
Just to add to that, because you did mention ADUs and sometimes they're home extensions, and just because a topic may come up, this specifically says new tie-ins. So if you're adding a new tie-in throughout that process, that is going to affect it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have water at your house and you're building an extension and you require no new tie-ins, this isn't affecting any of that.
Correct.
Yep, correct. So we do have an amendment that we are taking consideration. Is there any further discussion before we vote on the amendment? Okay, maybe do a roll call, please, on that.
Could we read the resolutions too?
Which part?
The what?
We're
we're
Councilor
continuing.
Ellenberg put forward an amendment to change the second whereas statement.
So we did
Councilor Ellenberg, do you want to reiterate your amendment one more time before we vote on it? Because we wanted to remind everybody what it is.
Okay. At the end of the second whereas, strike the word and put for projects approved after December 5th, 2025. That would be my added amendment.
Considering the lengthy discussion, can we do a roll call, please?
Mr. Kennedy?
No.
Ms. Ellenberg?
Yes.
Ms. McGrath?
No.
Mr. Loretti?
No.
Dr. Perry?
No.
Mr. Murphy?
No.
Ms. Hunt?
No.
Mr. Lindy?
No.
1 and 7. Motion fails.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to, number one, declare the emergency, which would allow us to move forward with this.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and a second. Any discussion on declaring the emergency? Okay, seeing none, we do have to do a roll call for that as well. We do need a 2/3 majority to approve the emergency.
Mr. Lindy?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Loretti?
Yes.
Ms. McGrath?
Yes.
Ms. Ellenberg?
Yes.
And Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Yeah, exactly. I would say finish reading through the rest of it.
Okay, so I'm going to read the rest of the measure that we have before us, and then I'll ask for a vote to suspend the rules so that we could approve the measure. And then I will have, actually, I have one word that needs to be amended in here, so I'll entertain a motion to make that amendment. So if councilors were looking at page 3 of 5, the second "be it further resolved" line, it says that the town council hereby affirms the continuation of the outdoor watering ban currently in effect pursuant to the declared water supply emergency and applicable drought conditions. The drought conditions are not applicable at this time because it was lifted yesterday. So I would entertain a motion to change the word applicable to anticipated, because I do anticipate that we will be in a drought again here soon. So I just want to make sure that we have that accurate for the record.
So moved.
Motion made and a second. Any discussion on that? Okay, seeing
Does
none.
it need to be amended?
No, I want to be accurate, because It says it's applicable, and it's not,
Currently, it's been shut off.
Okay.
so just anticipated. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So I will read the rest of the measure, and then we'll vote to suspend the rules, and then we will vote to approve the measure. So continuing on, now therefore be it resolved that the town council hereby affirms and supports the town manager's existing policy that no new water service connections shall be authorized for projects not yet approved during the current declared water supply emergency. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall not affect any project that, as of the effective date of this resolution, has already received all required local approvals for development, including any applicable special permit, site plan approval, subdivision approval, comprehensive permit, or building permit. Be it further resolved that the town council hereby affirms the continuation of the outdoor watering ban currently in effect pursuant to the declared water supply emergency and anticipated drought conditions. Be it further resolved that this resolution is intended as a temporary emergency period affirmation and shall not be construed as a zoning moratorium or permanent prohibition on development. Be it further resolved that the town council shall revisit this resolution upon restoration of adequate water supply capacity anticipated upon completion of the Plymouth Street treatment facility currently underway. So that is the rest of the resolution for those who do not have a copy. I would now entertain a motion to suspend the council rules and procedures of Section 18.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made in a second. Any discussion on suspending the rules? This is just so that we could pass an emergency measure here tonight. We do need a roll call vote. We need a 2/3 majority on this one.
Mr. Lindy?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Loretti?
Yes.
Ms. McGrath?
Yes.
Ms. Ellenberg?
Yes.
And Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. So we are now able to move forward and approve the measure that we have before us. So I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion
For
made in a
discussion.
second. Any discussion further on the measure before us?
I have one question. So this will take effect as soon as we vote on it?
Yes, effective date, did leave that out. This resolution shall take effect upon passage by the town council, so it'd be effective today.
Thank you.
I know that people are keenly aware that our original agreement expires on the 12th, which is Sunday. This would pass today, and we would be in compliance at that point. Any further discussion?
Are there any, Councilor Murphy brought a citizen's comment up. Were there any other ones that were pertinent to this that were asked regarding this that we haven't directly addressed? Because I would like to try to address them, and I'm trying to think of another one, but
Yeah, I think we
projects, what's
discussed
going
what
on right now, what's a new
projects
project?
approved projects are. Do you miss any points of clarification? Okay.
I can't think of any.
I would just say, I think a couple times it was asked, clarification on new hookups, and I would definitely say that a new hookup is a direct hookup to our water supply. And then over the 90 days that no new hookups will be connected to our water supply during the continuation of the state of water emergency. But again, once that's lifted, then we'll see where we stand as a town. But there will be no connections during that situation. That's where, again, the clarification on a new water hookup, I think, hopefully
Yeah,
answers that question.
And new is something that hasn't already been pre-approved.
Or physically new connections, during that time frame. And I think, again, to speak to what people were asking, obviously, we all saw the meeting in Middleborough. I think the two major things that they were looking to address was new water hookups as well as the outside, watering uses and things like that, again, which is covered by the state of water emergency. So I think everything they've requested is within the crux of this declaration, this resolution.
Yep. Anything further? Okay. Seeing none, we will go ahead and go to a roll call vote to approve this. We will need actually just a majority here, which is,
Do a roll call anyway.
yeah, let's do a roll call on this, please.
You do need to do it. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Ellenberg?
Yes.
Ms. McGrath?
Yes.
Mr. Loretti?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt?
Yes.
And Mr. Lindy?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, thank you very much. So we do not have anything further on our agenda, so that we would then move to adjournment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
President, could I ask for one thing, because it was so late when we were here on Tuesday?
Sure.
That I didn't have a chance to say it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, just so it gets out, because I see that it looks like we've got press out here and people. On Monday at 4 o'clock over at,
Hanson Farm.
Hanson?
Hanson Farm.
at Hanson Farm, there's going to be a celebration of the new walking that is over there, and people are invited, and there will be cake and celebration. And anybody who's on a community preservation committee should be invited and is expected to go to a presentation by the state, a teaching presentation by the state at the fire station at 7, I believe. So, sorry, I didn't just get those out of my mouth at
That's totally
11:30
fine.
on Tuesday.
That's this coming Monday?
It's coming Monday, yes.
Great, thank you. Anything else before we motion to adjourn here? Okay, did we get a motion to adjourn yet?
Make a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
And a second? And then, yeah, we need to do a roll call on this one
No.
now. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you all.